or something in. That's cool. Yeah, 15 seconds, multi-choice. There's about 4 questions. Just a bit of fun to start off with, so here we go. Oh, yes, mate. Someone listening, Jay, so it was a pretty good start. Got our leaderboard. Yeah. Garrett had a bit of a head start, I think. What sport does Kristen Hamling coach? It was last week's guest, if you went here. Good work, people. Yeah, people have been good. You didn't get that one, Barry. What's Kristen Hamling's company logo? Bird in the hand, bird in a bush, or bush in a bird in a tree. In the tree. Oh, Dylan's leading the charge. One more question. Pretty close running. Okay, what was one of my main fears as a coach developer? Flying, lack of credibility, or public speaking? Oh, lack of credibility, yes. Let's see what we got. Tomo's our winner. Hey, how's that? So there's no prizes, Tomo, but you can just have bragging rights. So I'm like a kid with a new toy. Got introduced to that last week, so I thought I'd better have a try out with it. So there's something else to add to the toolbox. So thanks for playing along. Yeah, sorry, Kingy, you're at a disadvantage being the first time you've been along. So good luck next time. Rightio. So hey, it's a real pleasure to have this week's guest, and met Garrett a little while ago last year at Coach Developer Training, formerly a international rugby referee, and he's now got the best beard in netball. Well, I hope he has anyway. And he's involved with netball, with the match official space around their people development. So the main objective today is actually to hear Garrett's story, some of the learnings he's had over the years as far as his development, and also the work he's doing with netball, and basically anything we could take away from the work they're doing in netball, stuff he's done in rugby before, and what we could do in our own practices. So Garrett, I'll leave it over to you if you just give us a couple of minutes about your background.
Thanks, Fletch. Thanks everyone for the opportunity to have a yarn with you. I guess, well, I grew up on the Kapiti Coast, so just down the road from the mighty Manawatu. I've got an affinity with Manawatu. In my former life as a rugby referee, my first ever first division game that I was properly appointed to was at the showgrounds, the Turbos and the Hawke's Bay Magpies, so local derby to start off my career. And ironically, my last ever game in 2014 was between the same two teams at the same venue in the championship final, and I'm happy enough to be able to say that Manawatu won that and ended up getting promoted that year. So a bit of an affinity with the Turbos region. My career ever since I left school has been in investments and managed funds. I started off as an analyst and ended up as a product manager working in compliance. And when I started refereeing rugby in 2000 and made the New Zealand national squad in 2005. And in 2009, when the global financial crisis hit and investments was the last place in the world you wanted to be, New Zealand Rugby threw a piece of paper in front of me and said, sign this. And I went full-time refereeing for what turned out to be 7 years. It took me all around the world. Only did a couple of tests. I was a bit older when I signed my contract compared to most referees. Most of my rugby was in the old First Division, ANZ, so I can't say anything else now, Air New Zealand Cup and the Mitre 10 Cup, ITM Cup, and a fair bit of Super Rugby. When I signed my contract, I thought things got to change. There's no way I want to go back into investments. So I started off studying a Bachelor of Sport and Exercise through Massey, majoring in management and coaching. Quickly worked out that all best intentions in my time in hotels, planes and airports to study wasn't going to get me done in time. So I commuted that and ended up with a diploma in sports business management. So did a bit of contracting at the end of that to Sri Lankan rugby, of all places. A bit of work in Japan, coaching rugby referees and some stuff for New Zealand Rugby, helping to develop their female or the women's referees program, and to work on some stuff to develop community level referee coaches. Opportunity came along with Netball New Zealand to lead their high performance and community umpiring programs. And that's where I am now. And the beauty of what I do now is I'm doing exactly what I was doing when I was consulting. I'm just doing it in one place and I don't have to worry about jet lag and travel and whatnot. And I'm doing it in one sport, which is a really invigorating sport, a little bit different than what I'm used to technically, but with similar challenges to rugby. So that's the background.
Well, thanks, Garrett. One of the things we've been covering over the last few weeks has been about courage or overcoming our fears or confidence and things like that. What was the situation that you sort of got apprehensive or had some anxiety around? And how did you deal with it?
Oh, where do I start? Life in general, I suppose. I don't know. There's a saying that two things make smart people dumb. One's love and the other one's sport. And for some reason, we might be really, really experienced in what it is that we do in our own lives. But when we get put in a new environment where we might not be as experienced as other people, we tend to take a back seat. You know, I recall back to when I was in the Wellington Referees Association, and you know, we had members who were referees who were CEOs, doctors, lawyers, you know, people who own small businesses, cafes, whatever. Really, really smart people with all these skills to be really successful at whatever it was they participated in. But for some reason in referees meetings, they just didn't feel as though they could speak up. And I remember back, my second ever super game was between the Brumbies and the Sharks in Canberra. And John Smith was I don't know if you remember him, he was the captain of the Springboks at the time. He was the captain of the Sharks. And the week before he basically had refereed, but he was involved in a match between the Sharks and the Waratahs where he tore Paul Marks, who was the referee, to shreds. I remember I was in Hamilton with my boss at the time, Lyndon Bray, watching this thinking, oh my God, I'm next. Lyndon turned to me and said, good luck next week. And I thought, what am I going to do? And was packing myself when I walked into the change rooms, and John Smith, and this is the guy he is. He put his arm around me when we went to do the front row speech. He put his arm around me and he said, "Did you watch last week?" And I said, "Yeah, I did." He says, "Are you a bit worried?" I said, "I've been planning for this." And he says, "Look, don't worry. I didn't like him. I like you." And then he said to me, at the end of the day, our ability to perform or deal with anxiety and perform under pressure is based on our experience. And it doesn't have to be our experience when in a game of rugby. It can be your experience in life that sets you up. And after the game, a couple of weeks later, I thought back and I thought all the things that have helped me become an experienced human being in life, being married, raising kids, which is effectively like refereeing a game of rugby, where you've got two teams that don't want to play nice and you've got a naughty chair. If they don't, those are the sorts of things that set you up to succeed in anything. And for some reason, we take ourselves out of the environment that we're experienced in and put ourselves into a new environment that we're not experienced in. We forget about how experienced in life we are. So that was a real watershed moment for me. And of all places, it came from a captain who was probably trying to get me in his back pocket, to be fair, who I was about to go out into battle with, really.
And how'd that game go for you?
The rest of that story is apparently I refereed really, really well, but I made a decision with 10 minutes to go that was wrong. Matt Gitto kicked a penalty to make it 22-20 to the Brumbies, and that was the winning score. And as we walked off the field, John Smith put his arm around and said, "Don't worry, Garrett, we were worse than you were." The scary thing was I climbed on the plane to get from Canberra back to Sydney the next morning, and guess who I had to sit next to? John Plumtree. He was the coach of the Sharks. Anyway, resilience, that's how you build it. You can't be taught it, but you can learn it.
So talking about I've got a very similar story about global financial crisis, and so you mentioned resilience there, and I got affected by that because I worked in finance at the same time, and because of that, which one of the positives that come out of it, I'm now sitting in front of everybody here, not sure because I'm on a Zoom meeting, but actually got the opportunity to work in sport. What sort of some of the things that you had to learn or that you brought with you going from the commercial world to the sports sector?
Well, I'm big on process, and I think as long as you go through a process, you know where you're trying to get to at the end, and you know where you're starting from, and you consult and you listen and you talk to people to build the steps to get from start to finish. Quite often we're managing change, and change is about understanding where it is you need to be and getting people on board to come with you throughout the process. And I guess people say to me, what are the things that are different about what you did in rugby or the corporate world and netball? And the beauty of being involved in netball is I can't have a technical bias. I literally knew nothing about umpiring netball when I started, other than I watched 20 minutes of a grainy video of us winning the World Cup in 1987 because I thought I'd better find out a little bit about netball. I quickly worked out that you can't copy and paste stuff from one environment to another. You need to understand the environment. In netball, I learned how to listen. I said I was going to ask a lot of dumb questions at the beginning to anyone I spoke to. A lot of them turned out to be just that, dumb questions. But a lot of them were questions that promoted some thinking and enabled us to start thinking about what sort of change might be possible. Critical thinking is a really important skill to have. So really being able to question yourself about what it is you're trying to achieve, what would I be thinking if I was in the other person's shoes, all those sorts of things. And the one thing that's been really, really important is to, I've surrounded myself with probably half a dozen really key people who are prepared to work with me, but also prepared to challenge my thinking and challenge the way we do things. And I think that's really, really important. It's easy to surround yourself with people who agree with you or are yes people. And in the end, that's just, the program relies on one person and a whole lot of yes people. So your ability to surround yourself with people who are knowledgeable, prepared to change and adapt, prepared to challenge you and your thinking, I think is probably the most critical thing that I've brought from my journey through into netball.
Great. I was at a Wayne Goldsmith webinar this morning and did this little cartoon of Alice in Wonderland, my chestnut cat, and I can't remember exactly how it went, but she said, "Oh, which way should I go?" And the cat goes, "Well, where do you want to end up?" She goes, "I don't know." He says, "Well, it doesn't matter which road you take then." So I was sort of promoting actually understanding where you want him to go. So you talk about dumb questions. Normally say there's no such thing as a dumb question, but what were some of the questions that you did ask that actually did prompt some changes?
I guess anything that I didn't understand, I'd ask a question. So why do we do that, or why is that important? Sometimes when you ask questions, you got people groups of people that fall on different sides of the fence. We had a role in our high performance environment called a panel role, and a panel member in the ANZ Premiership, so it was ANZ Championship when I started, but the ANZ Premiership is responsible for a number of functions, and coaching, which is helping someone get better, selection, choosing whether they're worthy of their position, and reviewing a performance. So how did I go today? And I asked a number of questions early on around, do we understand as a panel member what each of those roles are? Do we understand with clarity where they naturally link together? And more importantly, do we understand where there are potential conflicts of interest? And that was really interesting because that was from asking the umpires. They felt that a person who was a coach and a selector, and a coach didn't coach all of the umpires, so we might have had 10 umpires and one coach would coach 2 or 3 umpires. A coach who was also a selector going into selection discussions to decide who might umpire in the final series or be in the squad the next year, could easily, well, the perception could easily be seen that person, that coach in a selection role, would push the barrier of their own umpire, because their success as a coach was defined by how high that umpire went up the tree. So the questions I started asking was, why is it all the same role? What would happen if we clearly defined the roles and split them? And we ended up with a situation where we tried to create an environment where umpiring was set up much like a team. So if you can imagine, if a successful international team is winning championships, World Cups, or whatever, the coach is held up as a guru. If a team's consistently failing and nothing else works and players come and go and it's still not working, the coach is also guilty by association, and coaches can get dropped or sacked. So we separated the roles and put the coaches next to the athletes, the umpires, and said, you guys are jointly accountable for your success. We'll put support and programs around you to help that. And we'll remove the review of a performance, which is, how did you go that day, and selection. And we'll sit it with this group over here. Now, the selection group would always consult with the coaches, because they're the people that are working day to day in that environment with the umpires and know exactly where they are at in their development. And a coach may say, we're almost there with this person, and the selector might be thinking, well, they're not there. And by having that discussion, somebody may stick around that we've invested time and money in, and we will end up getting a return on investment out the other side eventually. So, those are some examples of where we asked some questions, drilled right into it, understood the needs of the organisation, the needs of the various groups, the on-court and the off-court people, and came to a happy place. And I think we're really, really comfortable with where we're at now with that stuff.
That's great. I think one of the challenges that we have, and we'll probably discuss this before, Garrett, is what questions can we ask coming out the other side of COVID or during COVID around challenging the sector? What's some of the things that you're doing in netball at the moment that are actually asking questions or to adapt now?
We're scrambling.
Scrambling.
We're scrambling, much like every face on this call is probably scrambling. We're really proud in netball, particularly at community level, that we go through quite a formal, robust planning process where we gather insights. We have discussions between the Netball New Zealand community, netball team and the zones to understand what the priorities in the zones are compared to what we see the priorities from a Netball New Zealand standpoint. And that process takes a couple of months, and we pull it together and it goes into a document, and that's how we measure our success in any given year, and we allocate KPIs to that. So we went through that process last year, and basically that's gone right out the window. So we're all set up to deliver a whole lot of stuff in the traditional ways, and it's gone. And literally 10 minutes before this call, we got off another Zoom call with our community netball managers to understand, okay, what are the really critical, most important things that we need to think about from our plan, potentially, or new things that are really non-negotiables, given that we can't deliver our plans for 2020. And the big thing we came up with, or the sort of stuff we're talking about now, is the connection piece. How do we connect with the people who want to be connected with? What are our philosophies around people who are suffering stress and anxiety in their lives? And then there's an expectation that they return to sport. And how can we support? So it's connection and support as opposed to delivery, KPIs and all that sort of stuff. And I guess those are the philosophies behind the discussions we're having. And interesting, you talk about Wayne Goldsmith. I sat on a webinar of his a couple of weeks ago, and he said the connection's a really important thing. And you can send all the emails and all the information you like to your people. That's not connecting. Connecting is actually talking to them and understanding their where they're at, how they're doing, and the things that impact them. And that's a really cool way of not only connecting but gathering insights and helping form the direction that you take.
Yeah, I agree. It's we're doing the best we can at the moment, but I think it's probably given us another opportunity to connect differently, and this is one of those forums. And one of the things I know in the RST world we're talking about is sector support. And what do we need to do to support the sector moving forward? And it could be different for each organisation, but yeah, I think I agree that connections, we're going to have to do a lot more hand holding than we have in the past. Sort of it could be the shoulder to cry on, all those types of things that we might have to do. What I'm going to do now, about halfway through, so I'm going to split you up into the breakout rooms. Just another thing, one of those things I've got used to now, and I'll probably just get you to discuss with your group, and I'll need one person from the group to report back, so you have to volunteer somebody, about what are some of the things that you're thinking of doing in your sport or in your environment that could be used to connect with your communities, whether it's coaches, players, umpires, and what some of the plans or support you might need to actually make those things happen. Hopefully that's clear as mud. And I'll look at some breakout rooms. Okay. So you'll get all the things, so you can join the room once you get the thing that comes up.
Is this like planning?
Oh, Fletcher's just joined. He can answer that one.
So do you mean what you plan to do, what you're doing now, or what you're planning to do?
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be both.
Yep. Okay.
So if you're doing stuff now, it's great to share that. If you haven't, that's okay. If you're planning to do some other things,
Yeah.
It also could be valuable for this group as well, which mentioned that, how do we want to keep connected out the other side? Once we get to level 2 or level 1, depends on what we can do. Do we want to get to these forums, or do we want to have a bit of a mix? I'd like to do some face-to-face when we can, but what are the options? What do we do?
Yeah. So one of the things we're doing right now is we've got Swift, and so we can race each other, or we just do group rides together as what do you call them? Avatars. So we're avatars on the computer screen, and we're racing each other on our bikes with the Swift. And yeah, it's quite fun. And sometimes we'll have Zoom going at the same time, so we can talk to each other as well while we're racing each other. So it's quite cool during these times. The other thing we're doing is we've got what I call a Chinese Whispers team challenge. So I've set a challenge, which is climbing up the stairs up Anzac Park 6 times. And at the top, you have to do 10 push-ups. And when you complete that challenge, you have to fall.
Really keen to do something. So they understand about a cost factor. So again, I said we're working our way through that as well. So, but yeah, they're quite keen to do something, which is good.
Are you getting any feedback from the clubs in terms of where their members are sitting? Like you're saying, can you send me what teams you might be entering? But are the clubs in good contact with their members and their team coaches to establish?
I know that one has directly, she went to all of her players and coaches, and they are really keen to go. So all of her teams are coming back. And since the email went out Friday, so I'm waiting to hear back from the rest of them. We asked them for ideas as well, saying that we were going to look at a reduced season. So they've sent a couple of really good emails around that, and most of them are saying, yep, our players are keen. They're not sure that they'll have their full teams, but yeah, so most of them seem really keen to get up and running.
Okay.
Yeah, it has been good.
What's it looking like for you, Barry?
Kind of similar. No emails have gone out from me. That's gone out from Central Football, but I think they were similar. They didn't contact them to level 3. Just at the minute, we've put on a few like competitions and stuff with like skills challenges and different things they got over each week to try and keep engaged with the community. And then in terms of the clubs themselves, at the minute we're trying to design what football might look like at level 2 if we can't have
or a pandemic like this for next time around, because there's no guarantees when these things are going to strike. And what do we learn now that we can use to prepare for next time?
It's going to be interesting though, because for years it's been the winter codes cutting in on us. So this could be our opportunity to stand up and be counted.
Yeah. All right, so what have we covered? Because we've only got a couple of minutes. Who's going to report back?
Dylan. Dill's reporting back for us, Fletch, just in case you're wondering.
Yeah, I wondered if you just pulled rank, did you?
Yeah.
Have you got a new role, Dave?
Nice to see you again, Garrett.
Yeah,
Sorry, mate. What's that?
So I was just saying it's nice to see you again, mate.
Oh, cheers, Kingy. Jeez, I'm getting used to this bloody video conferencing thing.
You're good at it. Okay, so I think we've got everybody back. I heard Dave pulled rank, so he made Dylan be the spokesman for their group. So we'll start with Dylan. Dylan, if you could just report back on your group, thanks.
It was a bit half of Dave, to be fair, and I might break up. So they've lumbered this on the guy that's working on data. Dave, I hope CD Cricket pay for the phone call. We went through a couple of not issues as such, but how we're working with the community. We brought up how cricket is working with some of the other codes in Manawatu to see how we can fit everyone's season in, not just thinking purely about cricket, sort of standing back and seeing how things can work out. The hard part, though, is that no one really knows what the landscape is like for us over the next couple of weeks, next couple of months. So it is quite hard to plan and try and fit things in from there. Cricket specifically is in a bit of a luckier boat compared to all other codes because we were coming to the end of our season. So in terms of it affecting us, not that much. So our focus really is to try and wrap up the season, which we did, and then try and work with the community on how we can all present or provide some sort of opportunities for everyone going forward. Dave, our group, just feel free to jump in afterwards. That's as much as I got from our group.
Good summary.
That's good, mate. So obviously cricket's trying to work with the other codes and working together. And obviously summer sports are probably a little bit more fortunate that their seasons are pretty much finished. But who knows how that might affect the other ends. Oh, who's next? Who's the other group?
That was us. That was my group. So summary really was contacting the clubs and the community, and they weren't sure about sending out information until it went to level 3 because they weren't sure what this was going to look like. There's eagerness from all us in netball to get back playing. It's the same in football. So I was just saying, football at the minute we're trying to design different games about what it might look like at level 2 if we've got that physical distancing. So we're designing games at the minute to make sure we still have something to offer the community, that they can still play the game. Yeah, that's it really. And then engagement, we've tried a few different things to engage with them, like little competitions, weekly competitions where they can send in skills videos and stuff.
How have they gone? How have they been? What sort of engagement you had with those, Gary?
I'm not sure the numbers. It goes directly into the marketing, but we've had a few. I know the staff had to get involved as well, which was difficult.
I've seen some incredible stuff on TV1 News. Different people doing different things, golf and all sorts of things, and quite amazing creativity. And the last group.
Was that our group? I think so. I can talk if you like. I'll talk. All right. So connection with clubs and schools, and just making sure that they're okay and that gets supported and throughout the process as much as possible. Staying connected via Zoom and making sure that continues on, and wondering why we haven't done that in the first place. look, we're looking forward to when Thursday, so we can actually start planning a little bit more with being more connected and know what the changes look like. And personally, I didn't say this to my group, but it was a real good one. We had a situation where it was the Oceania Junior Championship and that event got cancelled, which affected these kids that had been working really, really hard to go to qualify for World Champs, which has also been cancelled. And they hadn't had any form of communication or connection from the Triathlon New Zealand. And so I just rung up the boss directly and I said, look, this is a big problem. Like, no communication is worse than communication, even if it's bad news. So something needs to be told to these people so they can move on and they feel like they're supported by you. And that took a while for them to understand that these young people need that support, because they don't really have a development squad yet in Triathlon New Zealand for them to continue. So that was put into place, and we had a group Zoom chat with coaches, NSO and the under 19 athletes, and it went really, really well. And they had a clear vision afterwards and moved forward. Yeah.
Right. Thanks, Tammy.
Can I just add to what Tammy said? You know, we were in the same boat with Tokyo Olympics being cancelled, and we found out from a hockey perspective that Tokyo was off via the media. You know, we had no communication from FIH or our umpires management team or anything like that. And I think the problem was that they were waiting for information, and the fact that they had no information to give us meant that they didn't get in contact with us to sort of say anything. But I think it's really important that even if we're waiting on information or waiting for just to keep their contact going, because those other people are left in limbo and not too sure. So that was a really good observation. Thanks, Tim.
Yeah, it's a good thing to mention, because we're all sort of in a waiting, probably getting closer to knowing what's happening, but we can keep connected in any way is probably better than nothing. But it segues me nicely into next. We'll go back to Garrett now, especially when you talk about technology and the coach developer space and some of the stuff you've done with netball around the coach developer framework, and also some of the challenges, and some of those challenges have been overcome because of the situation we've been forced into. So I'll ask you a few questions about the coach developer and how that's evolved in your time.
Yeah, well, I guess we had a community umpiring review in 2017, and what came through loud and clear there was, and we consulted directly with centres, our netball centres, and with our New Zealand Umpire Development Group, who were responsible for umpire development around the country. 16 people who'd been doing a sterling job for a long, long time. We married what we found during that consultation, which was that coach development needed work, with some results from the Sport New Zealand Voice of the Participant Survey, which said that the quality of officiating was an issue and needed to be looked at. Never one to reinvent the wheel. I had a blank piece of paper in front of me, and instead of trying to design a delivery mechanism that would help support coach development in netball, umpire coach development in netball, I went and had a look around to see what was out there, and spoke to some people at Netball New Zealand and discovered this wonderful coach developer thing. With Colin French from New Zealand Hockey, last year we were lucky enough to go to be the first match official people on a Sport New Zealand coach developer residential. And there's a number of familiar faces, either as trainers or participants from that course. And during the 3 days, we spoke with Andrew Eade from Sport New Zealand and really challenged Sport New Zealand's thinking around how coach developer could be used in a match official setting. The result of that was that Sport New Zealand ran a trial coach developer residential for match official coach developers last November. Massively successful. Fletch was one of the trainers there. Absolutely huge. And in that time, we were also looking for people who had the skills and attributes to be coach developers in the umpire space in netball, and Linda's one of our coach developers in the netball central zone. So we had all these plans, as I said, to go out, and COVID came along, and that hurt our plans to be more formal in how we adopted coach developer. But what it made us realise, and when we were talking today about our new priorities for 2020, we don't know what sport's going to look like in terms of how it can be supported on the ground. And we have 4 umpire leads in 4 of our 5 zones, who are operating at the moment on reduced capacity purely because of funding. So rather than come up with a whole lot of things to do that puts more strain on the system, we've focused on mobilising the umpire coach developers who are willing and able to be involved in presenting online workshops. Now, we have what is traditionally a 2.5-hour annual update for our coaches and assessors. They come into the workshop, 2.5 hours, a little bit of practical, a little bit of theory, and box on and go and do your coaching. Obviously, we can't do that. So we did some research, and we've chunked our annual update down into 3 30-minute workshops. Pick and choose the ones you want. We used our 4 umpire leads to present what the LEARNS framework looks like in an online context. And obviously the things that come to mind around there are, how do you engage with people online? If you've got 30 people and the videos are turned off, how do you know who's actively participating, all that sort of stuff. And then gave the content to the umpire coach developers to go and deliver workshops. So Netball Central, where the Manawatu is obviously based, a real success story for us, because their umpire lead has presented to their coach developers, and the coach developers, which there are 7, are delivering, as I understand it, 18 workshops to a bunch of umpire coaches. So historically, there's been a little bit of resistance to going online, and whilst it's a terrible excuse to use, COVID-19 has given us an excuse to be able to give it a go, fail fast, capture our learnings, and move on. So I'm really thankful for the coach developer system for 2 reasons. One, it's really, really good and got some really cool models and tools. But 2, it's allowed us to grow our circles of influence and be able to get to more people. And you know, that's been a real success for us over the last 6 weeks.
So you talk about some learnings. What have you learned so far? Some of the feedback.
With best intentions to stick to 30 minutes, real hard. So being absolutely crystal on your objectives, your learning objectives, and knowing how you get there and how to connect and engage with people. Not everyone has the budget to buy the flash version of Zoom, so you get to 40 minutes and that turns itself off. And understanding that in order for this to be successful, whatever technology you use, be it Microsoft Teams, Google this, Zoom that, be really, really good with your technology. And if you're not, and I learnt this from New Zealand Rugby, it's okay to support your own facilitation with some technical expertise that sits alongside you during the workshop that may help you share the screen, deal with technical issues if people can't get into the workshop and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. That's what we've learned.
Yeah, I have to say that I'm learning a hell of a lot myself using the technology and get a new toy to use. So I think I'm going to try it out and all that sort of stuff, which is good because we're learning along this together. And I know Kingy probably could back this up with in our group. We're discussing how can we use technology more effectively to provide learning for coach developers. Kingy, do you want to add anything to that?
No, I thought Garrett touched on it brilliantly. You know, it's fantastic hearing what you're up to there, Garrett. And, you know, we're all learning as we go along here. I mean, there's certainly been a real positive out of COVID is the ability to do this sort of stuff now.
The number 8 wire mindset.
Yeah, it's great.
You know, speaking of time, trying to keep the time, I just noticed the time there now. I have got another little Menti thing for you to fill out before we finish up. But are there any questions for Garrett from the group? You can either throw them in the chat, or you can put your hand up and ask directly. Any quick questions before we get you onto the final bit?
Could I just say very briefly that we've been surveying our guys that we've been working with online, and I think it's going to become almost their preferred way of learning moving forward. I don't know whether anyone else has had those discussions, but certainly the young ones, we're teaching theory online as well now. They just engage quite quickly. It's very familiar to them, and I guess, Garrett, you'll be looking at ways that we can get the good parts of what we're learning and growing in our sport. And yeah, it's just been a really interesting experience. So although we might be saying, well, this is our stopgap measure, it might become, parts of it might become a way for the future.
Yeah, we had that exact conversation earlier today, Linda, where you know, when you're busy trying to scramble your way through this to get out the other side, the risk is that we go back to business as usual. And how do we take a breath when the time's right to capture everything that we've learned that we might be able to use to enhance what we already do? And I think that's the critical thing. And you quite rightly say, people learn differently now, and there's young people embrace online more than people traditionally have in the past. So yeah.
Got a question here, Garrett. Has there been anything you've struggled with in your refereeing career?
Fitness? No. No, fitness is never a problem, actually. Yeah, look, I guess if I had my time again, I didn't really know what being a professional meant. You know, it's nice to get paid to do something like that, but you know, if you think about what an All Black does or a Silver Fern does to be great, and compare that to what I thought I had to do to be great, and it was a dog-eat-dog world in match officiating when I was going through it. You know, I'd really sit down with somebody who knew what professionalism was and understand what it means to be a professional.
What were some of those things that you learned from those?
I had a quick question, Fletch. I guess on the
I'll try that again, Dave.
Yeah, sorry. There's going to be potentially budget cuts. There's going to be, you know, everyone's going to need to sharpen their pencil when it comes to what the sports are going to look like. And coach development it's been a pretty new piece of work, realistically, that a lot of time and money's been put into. Do you think that will continue going forward, or do you think that coach development could be one of those that sort of gets, I guess, budget cuts in the near future post-COVID?
That's a hell of a question, Dave. Oh, look, from an umpiring point of view in netball, our traditional method of coach development has been largely volunteer-based anyway. And you're talking about...
That's why you're here, isn't
it? Yeah. So it's, you know, we're used to, you know, volunteerism has been the backbone of netball in New Zealand for nearly 100 years. How we support that, we may be more need, and you're right, you know, there won't be as much money as there has been. Maybe these are the sorts of ways that we circumvent the cost of travel or venue hire and all that sort of stuff. So it's certainly a challenge in front of most sports, I'd say.
I know from my point of view, it's probably one of the areas that should get a lot of attention, because the coaching is going to have a real impact on the experience that the players have. Oh, my dog, sorry. But yeah, we don't always control those things. So, but yeah, I'll definitely be advocating for coaching to be fairly seriously considered as a must-have. Another question here: what advice have you got somebody beginning their, I suppose, refereeing or umpiring career?
Well, it depends where you want to go. I'd say well, it's really. I'd say when you're young, learn how to stretch, because that'll keep you going longer out the other end. But I'd say, look, everyone's going to want to give you their 5 cents worth, and the way that match officials are generally coached, it's based on a performance. So you go from performance to performance, receiving feedback. be really clear what it is that you're working on at any given point in time, and stick to your knitting for as long as you can. Once you've acquired whatever skill you've been working on acquiring, then move on to the next one. People are really keen to get to the finish line quick. It's your ability to be patient, and our young talent ID umpires I say this all the time: stop looking out the rear vision mirror out the side windows, keep looking straight ahead, otherwise you're going to plow onto a tree. Yeah, so just know what it is you're working on and just keep going until you get there, and then find the next thing.
Cool. Thanks, Garrett. Well, I'm just looking at the time and conscious people got Zoom fatigue and it's been too long on these things. So I've got one more Menti thing that's a bit more like feedback. So I'm going to share the screen with you on this one as well. And the code for this one's 955614. The first question, once you're in there, is how would you describe these Zoom sessions? Wonderful, great. Do more of them. Do less of them. Informative, great. Good, interesting. Connection. You can tell I've been really playing around with this and some of the tools. Great. Cool. I'll move forward to the next question. What impact have these Zoom meetings had on you? So almost, what have you learned from it? What could you take away, or what impact, what have you learned? That type of thing. Good stuff, and we're all in this together. We've heard that a fair bit over the last few weeks. Belonging, different ways to learn. Don't need to be in the room with someone to have meaningful conversations, inclusive, opportunity, connections, learnt new skills, challenged. Encouraged, reflective. I think that's everybody, and I'll move to the last question. What other topics would you like us to cover? So what else would you like us to go over? Okay, so we're getting so far, self-care and strategies, how to keep the kids bay during Zooms, and pets. Don't know if I can handle that one. Coach developer reflection strategies, successful methods of incorporating learns into Zooms. Mentorship, to be a mentor and how to choose a mentor. Great. The varied presenters, cool, we'll keep those up.
Fletch, if you're interested, I could share with you the work we've done with our coach leads and umpire leads to understand what learns means in an online environment, and you guys can just forward that out to the team.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks, Garrett. Yeah. So, I've got a question for you, Garrett. Just for sort of one or two more people might finish that off. How's the application side worked online? Have you been able to cover that?
That's the role play, largely scenarios, all those sorts of things. It's what you can't capture in a Zoom that you can in a workshop is the physical cues that you get from working with somebody. So it's best endeavours really, and ideally, if you had the world was a normal place, you'd have a combination of what you can do online versus what you need to do practically. But yeah. Breakout rooms is a great thing where people can have short discussions, or if you've got 6 people on a Zoom, 3 people need to do a role play, you just ask 3 to turn off their microphone and set the other. You got to be really clear on the roles of the other 3.
Yeah, it's probably the most challenging part with the online, and I think moving forward, a good mix will be a good way to cover all those things. Yeah, good use of presentation strategies. Yeah, how to connect with non-tech or non-internet people at this time. That's going to be an interesting new challenge. Yep. Idea strategies to bring athletes back together after COVID. Right. Cool. So I think if everybody must have added their things. Bring everybody back. I don't know if you can keep adding to that afterwards, so you probably can, but if you've got anything else to add into there, that'd be great. So thanks, Garrett. Just a couple of things that I've taken out of today is probably, the advantage of not knowing the technical, so you can ask those questions around why do we do these sorts of things and that type of thing to promote thinking or change. And I know that's something our group of coach developers have talked about a lot. We'd like to work cross-code so they don't get that bias around what they're seeing as a good coaching session. And also probably a thing I'm probably keen to investigate a bit more is the online learning and particularly the application part of the LEARNS model. So maybe it's another opportunity for us as a group to go through LEARNS and what that looks like, and we could probably brainstorm as a group what we think, how we could